So let's have a look at organizing your work on Linux and also on desktops like XFCE, but this is also going to deal with the without using a GUI desktop as well. We're going to look at some of the options as well on there. So different ways that you can organize. There's multiple terminals usually on a Linux machine, and I cannot demonstrate accessing these different terminals, so I'm not going to be able to do that, because if I try to switch to a different terminal, it's going to blank out your screen on a screencast. The screencasting software can only look at what it has access to. The other terminals are like just whole different screens. These are accessible by using Control-Alt and the function keys. The number of terminals that you may have is anywhere from, I've seen it, 4, 6, or 7. 4, 6, or 7. And to access those, that's the function keys, function 1 through function 4, function 5, function 6, function 7. Hitting those, they've got to be all three together. And like say Control-Alt F3 will take you to terminal 3, which is almost always a text terminal. So if you're on a Linux machine, you can do that, and you can see that it will take you to a text-based login. One of those is going to be your desktop, and sometimes they have some other type of GUI taking over a different one as well. Just depends on how exactly your distro is running, how your system is exactly set up. There can be any number of those different terminals, but you can actually open up one of those other terminals with that Control-Alt, say F3, get to that text-based login, and log in as any user on that system that you have credentials to log in as, and then then you have your own command line. But if you want to start a GUI desktop interface, if you have the software on there, usually that's Start X, depending on your distro, depending on what exactly you're set up with. But usually Start X will start the X server that will launch the new GUI user interface, the new graphical user interface on that under the user that you've logged in as. So after you've logged in, you can run that command and it will open up the GUI. So then you can have a whole separate GUI window under any user. You can use your existing user you've already logged in as, or you can use a different user. So you can have 2 sessions as the same user, or a session is, well, I mean, depending on how many terminals you have, that many different things on there. And each one of those is going to have its own workspaces, which can contain its own windows, and those windows can contain their own tabs. So those are your other options in there, and those are things which I can demonstrate, and we're going to go ahead and demonstrate workspaces, windows, and tabs. So the workspaces are on your workspace switcher. You can switch back and forth and access your different windows here. And here I have a window here. I can add another window as well with whatever else I want to on here. I have 2 different windows, and within some windows I can even have multiple tabs. So I can switch back and forth between tabs. So the other thing too that I was going to show on here is you can see how this just really makes it easy to have everything nested. You know, everything in one, this tab, you have one thing there in that program, and maybe in another tab, and that whole window is tabs for whatever you're working on. It's all this project in this tab, and this project in another tab. I mean, these tabs across one window is for one project. And maybe even a whole workspace is for a project. Maybe it's a bigger project and you have multiple different types of windows open. Now, tabs is something that's dependent on the program. Like in that case, the file manager did that. The web browser will oftentimes do that. Some notepads will do that. It just depends on what you're doing. Some things will support that and some things won't. Sometimes they'll just have to go to separate windows. But here I've right-clicked on my title bar, and here I can say I can move it to either other workspace, but I can also say always on visible workspace. And now if I do that, whichever one I switch back and forth to, it's there. So, I've grabbed that. It's always here. So if this is something that I'm working on, no matter what I'm into, I have that. But if I've got two different projects, like in my case here, I'm doing a screencast on one, and I'm doing editing on another one. So these are things that I can do to keep all that separate. I have all of my stuff that I've got to do my screencast in one workspace, and I've got my other stuff in another workspace. Now, on your terminals, you probably won't be able to copy and paste between them because they're not going to be as connected as you'd like them to be. They are two separate terminals. They're operating as two separate users. They're using different spaces. If you edit one file in one and save it, you can open that in another one if it has access, if you're in the same user, or at least one that has access to the other user's files. But Workspaces really gives you the best, I feel, for being able to group what you're doing there. But yeah, with some programs, they can run multiple tabs, and you can just go ahead and use a window that's for your project. Everything is for this one thing. You can put it in that window, and then open up a new window and load the tabs in there with what you need there. But that workspace thing is very useful for that. You've also got the ability to hold one on top. Or put it below other windows. So if this is something that I need to constantly have in my view, I can mark that as on top. I can make it to where it is a size that I guess that was the right one. Nope, something's not. There it is. So I can size this thing down, and I can say, I want to keep this on top. And I can mark that as always on top. Now I've always got access to this, even while I'm over here, I have access to that. Or maybe it's just something that I want to make sure that something's always on the background, but even if I'm typing it, I want to be able to have other stuff above it. That's where I have the other option to be able to say, always below other windows, and I can move it back to same as other windows. Different states of a window as well, and you can see it on these bars here. There's different states that I can have. We got a rolled up window, which means I've only got the title bar, and it allows me to work with that and just throw it wherever else I want to, and then roll it back down again when I want to. Minimizing that just puts it up into the title bar and gets it completely off my screen, that I can get back to my other work. And then this was the maximize versus windowed. Well, they're both windowed, but they're just kind of restored, or whatever you want to call it. But to where it's sizable, I can change its size and make it just a partial portion of the screen, and then to close it. I'm done working with this one. Bye. So those are different things that can be done with a window, and I'll just make sure that I covered most of what's in here too, to roll it up. And that's another really cool thing too that you can do with almost all of your windows on Linux XFCE particularly. Almost all of them can go to full screen. So that means I can really work with this thing here. Now I can hit Alt Space is what I did here, and now I have access to leave the full screen. I can bring open that window. Alt Space brings open the same menu that I'm going to click on my icon here in the upper left of that window. And it has a bunch of other features to be able to, that's where I was going, to be able to move stuff around and stuff like that. That's by right clicking on those right clicking anywhere on the title bar will also bring up that menu. And then I've got all the other menus here. And just to make things quicker too, a lot of these guys are keyboard shortcuts they list. Hitting an Alt, well, by holding down Alt, you'll see the underscores. Those are mimics. And now I can hit any of those mimics while I'm holding that. I have to keep holding it. And I can open that up. Now I can just use my arrow keys, move around as well, and use an Enter key. See, I can tab on here too. I've got multiple tabs. Now I can keep 2 files open. But that's just one more way that you can work with many windows. And then any of these keyboard shortcuts, when they apply, when they're enabled, you can use these other items on here. So, you know, at any time I can hit F1 and get to my contents help. Now, in my case, I'm needing the internet to do that, which I'm not connected to at this time, which I'm making this video, so I cannot show the help, but that would have taken me there. Being able to search for something. If I want to find something, it'd be Control F. That would open up my Find window. So hitting Control F, and I can find whatever I want to. So those are keyboard shortcuts as well. That just makes it to where you don't have to use as much of the mouse and keep things organized. Being able to work on multiple projects and using those workspaces to keep it all contained as you need to. Thank you for watching.